Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into Google's controversial decision to drop its pledge against using AI for weapons and surveillance. A pretty big shift, wouldn't you say? It's a seismic shift.
Absolutely. It's a huge story. Google was once seen as a leader in ethical AI development. This move completely changes that perception, doesn't it? What's the reasoning behind this change?
Well, Google's executives, Hassabis and Manika, frame it as a response to the intensifying global competition for AI leadership. They argue that democracies need to lead in AI development, and that includes serving government and national security clients. They're essentially saying that to compete, they need to play ball with the military-industrial complex.
So, it's a strategic decision driven by geopolitical considerations? That's a pretty bold claim. But doesn't this directly contradict their previous stance and the very principles they established in 2018?
Exactly. They've removed the clause explicitly stating they wouldn't pursue weapons or surveillance applications. Remember Project Maven? The employee protests? This feels like a complete 180. It's a stark contrast to their previous commitment.
Yeah. And it's not just the internal contradictions. This puts Google in line with other tech giants like Microsoft and Amazon, who've long had military contracts. It's almost like they're following the herd. What about the ethical implications? This seems to open the door to some pretty serious concerns.
Absolutely. Critics like Professor Irani point out that Google's claims to respect international law and human rights have been routinely broken by the U.S. state. She argues that this is just another empty promise. The fact that this change comes after significant donations to the Trump inauguration and amidst growing U.S.-China tensions is also highly relevant.
Right, the timing is suspicious, to say the least. It's hard not to see this as a move towards aligning with a specific political agenda, rather than a purely ethical or technological one. It's a cynical move. What about the reaction from Google employees? Are there any internal protests this time?
The article mentions ongoing protests regarding a cloud computing contract with Israel, raising concerns about potential harm to Palestinians. It's a similar situation to Project Maven, but the scale might be different. It seems the internal dissent hasn't completely disappeared, but it's not as publicly visible as the Project Maven protests were.
So it's a complex situation with many layers. Geopolitical competition, ethical concerns, internal dissent, and a shift towards aligning with a particular political ideology. It's a fascinating and troubling development. This really changes the landscape of the AI ethics debate, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Google's decision is a significant turning point, highlighting the increasing entanglement of AI technology with national security and geopolitical strategies. It raises serious questions about the future of ethical AI development and the role of tech companies in shaping global power dynamics. It's a wake-up call for sure. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We'll keep you updated on this developing story. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.